Okay, well, the question I probably get asked by far the most by most people when they found out that I've had a 2018 Polaris Highlifter, and now that I have a new 2020 Can-Am MR Turbo, is which one's better. So I just made a little bit of a list up, and I'll at the very end I'll state which one I think is better at this point in time. I've had this one for about 4 months now, and I've had it to a lot of the same places I had the other one, the Highlifter. So I'm just going to start off with the things I liked about the Razor the best. The good thing about the Razor is they sold so many Polaris that if you ever have any problems with axles, parts, on the trail, there's always somebody that seems to have a part. So that's always a big bonus because I don't care what you're buying, Can-Am or Polaris, they're all going to break. Cleaning. I really like the inside, and I'll show you in a second, but I'll kind of go through the list and I'll kind of go back over the list. But for cleaning, inside they have plugs that you just unplug and the water drains straight out the bottom. Where this one there's just a bunch of holes. So for cleaning the bottom of this, out of this is a little bit more difficult. The seat removal, I really like the Polaris Razors. You can take the seat out, sit it down, and you don't need to bring any chairs anywhere to the mud pits or the trail or anything. You just sit on them. Definitely Razor seats are much better in my opinion, and a lot more comfortable. The door latches, I like the door latches much better on the Polaris Razor than I do on the Can-Am. And again, I'll go through the Razor ones first, and then I'll go back over all the stuff on the Can-Am. The passenger handle in the Can-Am that you don't have in the Can-Am, you just have a little handle here and a handle over here, and on the Razor you had a nice big T handle that you hold on to. I know my wife, she really likes that a lot more. She's a lot more comfortable on the Razor. Seat position, I think it really depends what you're going to do. Now, if you're going to do a lot of major hill climbing or maybe be in the mud, it really wouldn't matter. The laid back seat position of the Can-Am is kind of like this, where on the Razor you're more upright. So I've already, on this side, hit a tree at about 10 miles an hour that I thought the tire was going to be on the inside of. It stopped us dead in its tracks. And I was amazed it didn't bend the A-arm, break the A-arm. I was just in absolute shock about that. So it took a pretty good shot. But you definitely, you know the tires are much better in the Polaris Razor. And it's only because I think you sit up and just kind of where the fenders are and things are also. The reliability, I don't know which one, honestly, at this point in time, I would say. I've not had this one long enough. The only thing I ever had with the other one was a broken axle. It was completely my fault. So they've both been pretty reliable. Okay, now the cons on the Polaris Razor. Much slower. This is like driving a Ferrari, that's like driving a Yugo, between the two. Now this is a turbo, another one was a turbo, so it's really not a fair assessment, but between the two mudding machines is what I'm rating them at. The Can-Am has, 195 horsepower to 115 horsepower is what the Razor had. I didn't like the way the Razor towed either. It's kind of like a loaf of bread. With my trailer, and I've got a dual axle trailer, a 7x14, and it just kind of moved it around a lot more. This one tows so much easier. The thing I really hated about was the bed in the back. So in the back side, on the Razor, back in through here, oh my gosh, you had a bed that was about this far deep down, and you constantly had to clean the mud and stuff out of it. It was terrible. And very kind of tipsy too. When you're on your side with it, you always felt like it was going to kind of maybe tip over, turn on its side. The tires were kind of a pain in the butt changing on the Razor also. I didn't like where the back A-arms were, where you had to jack it up. You had to have the jack just in a perfect spot. It had to be like swung inside, or the inside tire, the tire would hit it whenever you changed, put the trail tires on because they were a little bit bigger. I think I didn't like either. The interior on the Razor is a lot cheaper looking. They're all pretty much plastic, and I'll go over and show you a few things on this one, but this is way nicer inside as far as interior. The gear shift position I did not like, because when you're suited in on the Razor, the gear shift was really hard to get down to, and I've got really long arms, so I really like where the Can-Am's at, and I'll show you in here also. And not as much leg room. I felt like with the Polaris Razor, 6'1", 6'2" is about all you're probably going to get out of that. With this one, there's definitely quite a bit more leg room. Okay, so I'll just get the camera and I'll kind of go through a few of the things I was talking about with. Okay, so the thing I really liked much more was I liked the door handles a lot more. Here, the door handles on the Can-Am, you'll see you have to pull this little thing in back and forth. And when it gets muddy, it's just a pain in the butt sometimes. And you'll see as the seat getting the seats in and out, they're pretty much bolted in. Now, I know that you can put some clips and some things on them like that to change them, but for the most part, you know, they're kind of a pain. And your battery, everything is right back behind the passenger seat. Now, it will slide forward pretty well. And here's the thing I was talking about, the bed of the Polaris Razor, where this one sits flat and straight. The other one, you know, was probably 1.5 feet deep on it. The things I really like about the Can-Am are, I love the link system, and they'll have them right over here. Now the cooler, they're still getting it wrapped, but here's the link tools. If you saw my last video, you saw how these go in. And so for the cooler attachment, you just have one of these. You just turn this here and turn that in. Same thing over here. Same thing right. And the cooler just sits down on it, locks in place. Really, really easy to use. Cleaning. This thing is so much easier to clean, and I think it's because of these fender wells. They go in so much deeper, but oh my gosh, night and day difference. Oh, the thing that I loved about the Polaris Razor was cleaning the radiator. So I'll kind of jump around just a little bit, but this cap, you can pop this piece off right here to where you can get down into it. Just pull up here. Here. And you get down in there pretty well, but I still like the Razor much better. It seems like the few times that we've had this in the mud so far, it's not overheated yet, but it really holds a lot of mud in there. Now, I do like the system where you just kind of smack and they just kind of lock in place. There's no bolts, screws, or anything of that nature with that. The leg room. The leg room is great in this Can-Am. So much more leg room that you have down in here on both sides, and especially where the seats will slide back and forth. The suspension is a total different level compared to what the Razor was also. Hill climbing, that's nice with the seat position, just because you're kind of more in that laid back position. I already talked about towing. This is so much easier to tow than the last one also. The gear shifter, let me show you over here. Yeah, the gear shifter is so much easier to get to. So when you're sitting there and you're harnessed in, you can grab the steering wheel super easy. Where it was much deeper, I felt like it was like way down deep here on like the Polaris Razor, where it was really hard to get to. It was kind of an odd position. Now, okay, one of the things I don't like about the Can-Am is the brake and the gas. I don't know if you'll be able to see in here or not. Probably not, it's pretty dark down there. But they're really close together. It's kind of an odd, and again, like I said, I hate the doors. The doors on these are terrible, having to pull those little red tabs. Hard to see. So when you're sitting here in this position right here, and you're looking out, you have no clue where that right tire is, where you could definitely see much easier on the Polaris Razor. The handle, again, remember on the Razor, the handle came straight out. It kind of came out from here and then had a T that you could hold on to. And this is what the passenger has to hold on to, this and that little handle thing over there. So if your harness would break, you're in a world of hurt. Okay, so those are just some of the things for me. And I had the Highlifter for a couple years. Like I said, I've only had this about probably 5 months. Let me set this back over here. So here's the question that everyone always wants to know. Which one should I buy? My recommendation would be, at this point, from again having both these machines, the Can-Am. Now, your Can-Am is probably about $5,000–6,000 more than the Polaris Highlifter, but the power is just, it's fantastic. It gets you out of situations that you're not going to get out of the Highlifter. And again, with having the lockers on this one, which makes it not fair also, where you can kind of lock it in automatically here from the inside too, get all 4 tires pulled at the same time. That makes it a little unfair against the Highlifter. But if you had to pick between the two and you can afford it, I would definitely say get the Can-Am, just because it's going to get you out of spots that I don't think the Highlifter is going to be able to get you out of. Polaris Razor, great quality, fantastic machine. I love mine. No issues at all with it. Like I said, other than one axle, it was completely driver error when I broke mine, and I had it as so that bricks, and I still went around the entire weekend on 3 axles, no problem at all. But, you know, the tree that I hit with this front tire and didn't bend anything, I don't think the Highlifter would have held up that well, honestly. I think it would have at least broke an axle. And for this not to break an A-arm, an axle, anything like that, that hard, because it was a complete stop, probably about 10, 15 mile an hour right into the corner of the tree. So I've been waiting to do this for a while, just because I wanted to have this at several mud pits and be able to compare it. But I've had it back and forth at Hillbilly several times, and when I got stuck in that one hole at Hillbilly last year is when I decided I wanted to kind of sell it and see what the Can-Am had to offer. But if you want to pick between the two, Can-Am is a machine that you want to buy. Thanks, I hope this helps. Sorry, one of the things I want to talk about was how nice it is on the inside. The steering wheel on the Can-Am is so much nicer than what the Razor was and so much more comfortable. It's really soft. You'll see the cluster gauge. Everything is right where you can touch it. Yeah, what I was talking about in here. Just so much nicer. Everything's a lot more bright as far as the temperature gauge, mile an hour. Here are your different drive modes, menus, things of that nature. But the steering wheel, I don't know if you can really tell, but it's just really nice and soft. It's a very nice steering wheel, the Can-Am, and it's really stylish. So as far as the inside, it's way nicer inside on the Can-Am than it is the Polaris Razor Highlifter. But I didn't show this on the last video, so I just want to make sure that I got to show probably one of the nicest things about the Can-Am compared to especially on the inside. And here was my rear view camera that we had installed also. It's worked out pretty well. I wish it came and showed a little bit more where the tires and things are at. I'll show you where it's on the back right now. See if I can get the steering wheel a little bit better there. Yeah, you can see it just got kind of a nice little flat spot on it. Here's the camera in the back. I wish it would just show more of kind of this area right through here. It seems to kind of just start to show it, you know, a little bit behind the back tire. But that's been pretty cool to have just from backing up. Just because you can't hardly see it all over here. And once I get the cooler put up, you know, that's gonna, my gosh, that'll go completely up through here. So that'll take up a lot of the space right there. So you pretty much have to have a backup camera of some sort since I don't have the mirrors. And there's a spot that I could put them on right here, but I'm getting so much stuff right there, and they just don't look very nice as far as stylish. So I'm gonna try to not put any on there, and hopefully I won't hit anything or anyone. Okay, so I hope this video helps. If you're choosing between the two right now, and I'm sure in a year or two, Polaris is gonna come out with something that'll probably even trump this, and that's what happens back and forth. But the last couple of years, Can-Am, the Mavericks, they've really took it to a totally different level. So Polaris has got their work cut out for them. But if you're lucky enough to have either machine, you're gonna get through most things that most, you know, even mud trucks aren't gonna get through. But again, I just think if you're going to weigh the pros and cons, I think there's a lot more pros on the Can-Am. So here's some pictures of the 2018 Polaris 1000 Highlifter that I had. You can see, you know, I was talking about steering wheel. The cooler in the back was really nice on the Highlifter also, but there was the bed. The harnesses I didn't like as much. They have the retractable on the Can-Am. You see those aren't retractable. Here's a shot of the interior. Nice, but nowhere near as nice as the Can-Am. So overall looked really good. But I just wanted you to kind of give you a kind of a comparison to where you could see the Can-Am and the Highlifter. All right, again, I hope this video helps.